12 late October and early November, perennials to plant now for stunning spring blooms. Hey there, garden dreamers and plant lovers. Welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you're someone who can't walk past a nursery without pausing to admire the flowers, or if you've ever found yourself scrolling through plant photos late at night, imagining how your garden could bloom next spring, this video is for you. I know many of you have small patios, cozy backyards, or even just a few sunny windowsills. You crave that sense of calm that comes when life starts to bloom again after a long gray winter. Maybe you've tried growing before, but your spring garden never quite looked the way you imagined. Too few blooms or colors that faded too fast? Trust me, you're not alone. Today we're changing that. Together we'll explore 12 late October and early November perennials that you can plant right now for a breathtaking spring display. These aren't just beautiful plants. They're resilient companions that thrive quietly through the cold months and burst into color when the world starts to wake up again. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's talk about how to turn your fall garden prep into a spring masterpiece. And if you love learning simple, real-world gardening tips that actually work, don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights so you never miss the next green adventure. 1. Hellebores, the first whisper of spring. When most gardens still sleep under a blanket of frost, the hellebore is quietly preparing its grand entrance. Often called the Lenten rose, this perennial is one of the earliest to bloom, sometimes pushing its flowers through melting snow while everything else still waits for warmth. Imagine that. Soft pinks, creamy whites, even deep purples glowing in the cold light of late winter. If you're someone who tends to your garden like it's a reflection of yourself, patient, hopeful, steady, the hellebore will feel like an old friend. It thrives in the cool shade under trees or near walls where the soil stays moist but never soggy. Give it rich, well-draining soil, and it will reward you with years of quiet beauty. Unlike high-maintenance plants that demand attention, hellebores are content to grow at their own pace, returning each spring a little fuller, a little stronger. As a gardener, you know that not every bloom needs to shout for attention. Some whisper gently, reminding us that even in the coldest seasons, life continues beneath the surface. That's exactly what makes hellebores so special. They remind you that resilience is its own kind of beauty. So as October fades into November, find a shaded corner, loosen the soil, and plant a few hellebores. When winter passes, you'll be greeted by one of nature's most hopeful sights, the first whisper of spring in your very own garden. 2. Bleeding Heart, a garden's gentle romance. If there's one flower that can make even the coldest heart soften, it's the bleeding heart. Those delicate heart-shaped blooms that dangle like tiny pendants along graceful arching stems feel almost poetic, as if nature herself decided to tell a love story in petals and color. In early spring, when the world is still waking up, these blossoms appear like soft notes of pink and white, swaying gently in the cool air. For gardeners who see their spaces as sanctuaries, a place to breathe, to heal, to reflect, the bleeding heart is a perfect companion. It thrives in part shade, under the shelter of taller plants or trees, where the soil stays rich and damp. It doesn't rush. It grows slowly, quietly, asking only for a bit of care in the beginning, then gracefully disappearing in summer to rest, ready to return again next spring with the same gentle elegance. There's something deeply comforting about that cycle. A reminder that beauty doesn't have to last forever to be meaningful. You'll love how this plant fills your garden with a romantic softness that feels timeless, like an old watercolor painting come to life. So as you plant this fall, find a shady corner, tuck a bleeding heart into the soil, and imagine those pink hearts swaying in the cool breeze of early May. When you see them again next spring, you'll smile. Not just because they're beautiful, but because they waited for you, just like old friends do. 3. Creeping phlox, the colorful carpet of spring. Now picture this, a gentle slope, a stone pathway, or the edge of your garden bed, covered in a sea of soft blossoms that seem to flow like water. That's the magic of creeping phlox. It's the kind of plant that doesn't just decorate your garden, it transforms it. When it blooms in spring, the ground itself becomes a living canvas. Pinks, purples, blues and whites blending together in waves of color that catch every bit of sunlight. For those of you who crave that instant burst of life after months of dull winter tones, creeping phlox is your answer. It's resilient, low-growing, and practically effortless once established. It thrives in full sun, asks for little more than well-drained soil, and rewards you tenfold with weeks of bloom. Even if you're a busy gardener with only weekends to spare, this little wonder works quietly beneath your feet, spreading gently without ever taking over. And the best part? It's not just for big yards or fancy landscapes. You can plant it along driveways, in rock gardens, or even in containers that spill over with color. Wherever it grows, it brings a joyful kind of energy, bright, simple, and alive. So as you plan your fall planting, imagine how satisfying it will be to step outside in early spring and see your garden glowing from the ground up. That's what creeping phlox does. It paints your garden with happiness, one tiny bloom at a time. 4. Bearded iris, the elegant drama of spring. There's something undeniably regal about the bearded iris. When it blooms, it doesn't just appear, it makes an entrance. Tall, elegant, and confident, with petals that ripple like silk in the wind, the iris carries an old-world charm that never goes out of style. Its colors are endless. Soft pastels, deep purples, golden yellows, even mesmerizing blends that look hand-painted by nature herself. For those of you who love structure in your garden, a sense of rhythm and design, the bearded iris is a dream. It stands tall among the softer mounds of other perennials, giving heightened sophistication to any space. And yet it's surprisingly low maintenance. Plant it in full sun and give it well-drained soil, and it will thrive year after year, needing only a bit of space to let its rhizomes breathe. It's the kind of plant that rewards patience with extravagance, a burst of beauty that feels almost theatrical each spring. What makes the iris so beloved isn't just its looks, though. It's the way it seems to mirror the gardener's own spirit, strong, graceful, and unapologetically bold. Every bloom feels like a reminder to stand tall and shine, even if the world around you is still waking up. So as you tuck those rhizomes into the soil this fall, imagine what they'll become. Slender green blades rising from the earth, followed by blooms that command attention. Come spring, your garden won't just grow, it will perform. 5. Peonies, the queen of timeless beauty. If your garden could wear perfume, it would smell like peonies in full bloom. There's something almost magical about these flowers. Lush, layered petals that open slowly, revealing color so soft and pure, it feels like a dream. Whether it's a delicate blush pink or a deep romantic red, peonies have a way of turning any garden corner into a painting. They're not just flowers. They're a celebration of elegance, patience, and reward. For gardeners who love lasting value, the kind of beauty that deepens over time, peonies are a perfect choice. They take a little while to settle in, yes, but once they do, they can bloom for decades. Some even outlive the people who plant them, becoming a legacy of color passed from one generation to the next. Plant them in full sun, give them rich, well-drained soil, and they'll return every spring, stronger and more generous than before. What I love most about peonies is how they teach us the art of timing. They don't rush to bloom. They wait for the perfect moment, and when that moment comes, they steal the show. Their blossoms fill the air with fragrance. Their foliage stays lush through summer, and every petal reminds you that good things truly are worth waiting for. So this fall, as the air turns crisp, plant your peony roots and imagine what next spring will bring. A garden kissed with elegance, beauty that lingers, and blooms that feel like pure poetry. 6. Columbine, the dancing spirit of the garden. There's a certain playfulness to the columbine that makes it impossible not to smile when you see it. With its delicate spurred petals that look like tiny lanterns or fluttering wings, this flower feels alive, as if it's dancing with the breeze. It doesn't just grow, it performs a soft ballet in your garden, moving gently, freely, never demanding attention, yet always catching your eye. For those of you who love a garden that feels a bit wild, a touch of whimsy mixed with charm, Columbine fits perfectly. It thrives in both sun and part shade, happy among stones, beside fences, or tucked between taller plants. Once planted, it spreads quietly, reseeding itself just enough to make each spring a delightful surprise. You'll never know exactly where the next bloom will appear, and that's part of its magic. Columbine blooms in late spring, just as the air starts to warm, offering colors that range from soft blues and pinks to fiery reds and yellows. They're beloved by hummingbirds and butterflies, bringing movement and life to every corner of your garden. And perhaps that's why so many gardeners fall in love with this plant. It's carefree yet purposeful, gentle yet resilient. So as you plant this fall, picture those graceful blooms swaying under the morning sun next spring. In a world that often moves too fast, Columbine reminds us to slow down, breathe, and simply enjoy the dance of nature. Chapter 2:7. Ornamental alliums, the fireworks of the flower world. Just when you think spring has shown you all its colors, the ornamental alliums arrive. Tall, proud, and impossible to ignore. Their round, globe-like blooms seem to float above the garden, bursting with hundreds of tiny star-shaped flowers. It's as if nature decided to create her own fireworks display, soft and shimmering, right in your backyard. For gardeners who love a mix of elegance and surprise, alliums are the perfect choice. They rise above your other plants like quiet guardians, adding structure and height while still feeling light and playful. These hardy bulbs thrive in full sun and well-drained soil, and once planted, they ask for very little, just patience. By late spring, they'll reward you with those spectacular purple or white orbs that stand tall even in the wind. What's even better is that alliums are loved by pollinators but ignored by deer and rabbits. So while bees and butterflies will dance around them, your blooms will stay safe and undisturbed. And when the petals finally fade, the seed heads remain like sculptural accents, giving your garden texture well into summer. Plant them in groups this fall, clusters of 3, 5, or 7, and imagine how they'll rise next spring, like floating lanterns above the rest of your blooms. Ornamental alliums remind us that beauty doesn't have to shout. Sometimes it just needs to stand tall and let the light find it. 8. Lungwort, the shimmering jewel of the shade. In every garden, there's that one quiet, shady corner that never quite seems to come alive. It's too dim for most flowers, too cool for many greens. But that's exactly where lungwort thrives and transforms. With its speckled leaves that look like they've been brushed with silver and blooms that shift from pink to blue as they age, lungwort is the hidden jewel of the spring garden. For gardeners who find beauty in the subtle things, the way sunlight filters through leaves, the way color changes with each passing day, this plant feels like poetry. It loves part to full shade, the kind of dappled light that slips through tree branches or falls softly along fences. Give it moist, rich soil, and it will grow steadily, year after year, forming lush mounds of shimmering foliage that stay beautiful long after the flowers fade. What makes lungwort so special isn't just its look, but its spirit. It's a survivor, thriving in places others can't. The cool, damp spots that most plants abandon. It's perfect for those of you who want a garden that feels peaceful and alive even in the quietest corners. So as you plant this fall, imagine stepping into your garden next spring and seeing those soft blue and pink blooms glowing like morning dew. Brunnera, the silver heart of the garden. There's a tenderness to Brunnera that feels almost nostalgic, as if it belongs in a secret garden from another time. With its heart-shaped leaves brushed in silver and delicate sprays of tiny blue flowers, Brunnera doesn't shout for attention. Instead, it invites you to slow down, to notice the quiet beauty that lingers in the shade. For those of you who find joy in calm, reflective spaces, maybe a shaded path, a garden bench tucked away from the noise, Brunnera is your perfect companion. It thrives in cool, moist soil and dappled light, where many plants struggle to keep their color. Each spring, its blooms appear like forget-me-nots, scattering soft blue across a sea of silvery green. And when the flowers fade, the foliage remains, turning every shadowed corner into something luminous. What makes Brunnera so endearing is its consistency. It doesn't demand attention or constant care. It simply shows up, beautiful, reliable, and grounded. It's the kind of plant that makes your garden feel complete, like the finishing note in a gentle melody. So this fall, when you're choosing what to plant, save a spot for Brunnera. Picture those silver hearts glowing under the spring light. A reminder that even the quietest corners of your garden can hold the most lasting beauty. 10. Dianthus, the sweet scent of simplicity. There's a reason Dianthus, or pinks as many call them, have been cherished in gardens for centuries. They're simple, charming, and endlessly cheerful. The kind of flower that brings a smile even on an ordinary day. Their petals, fringed like lace and scented with a soft clove perfume, make every breeze feel like a whisper of spring. For those of you who love gardens that are both pretty and practical, Dianthus is a perfect fit. It thrives in full sun, loves well-drained soil, and rewards even the most forgetful gardener with weeks of continuous color. Whether you're planting along pathways, filling in the edges of raised beds, or tucking them into containers, these little blooms bring a timeless grace that never fades. What makes Dianthus so special isn't just how easy it is to care for. It's how it makes your garden feel. Each bloom seems to hum with quiet joy, adding texture and fragrance to the air. And when you cut a few stems for a vase indoors, that sweet scent follows you, softening the day just a little more. As you plant this fall, imagine stepping outside next spring to see clusters of pink, red, and white blossoms dancing in the sun. Dianthus reminds us that sometimes the most meaningful beauty isn't loud or dramatic. It's simple, steady, and full of heart. 11. Catmint, the effortless charm that never fades. There's something wonderfully carefree about catmint. It's the plant that always looks good, even when you forget to water, even when the weather turns unpredictable. With its soft gray-green foliage and clouds of lavender-blue blooms, catmint feels like a gentle sigh of relief in the garden, bringing calm where other plants demand attention. For those of you who crave color without constant work, this plant is your dream companion. It thrives in full sun, laughs at drought, and keeps on blooming from late spring well into summer. Its scent is subtle and soothing, and when the bees arrive, and they always do, your garden hums with quiet life. That gentle buzz, that soft movement, it's nature at its most peaceful. Catmint works beautifully at the front of borders or lining pathways, where its billowing shape softens hard edges. It's also perfect paired with roses or peonies, where its cool tones make the richer colors pop. And after the first wave of blooms, a simple mid-season trim rewards you with another round of flowers. Effortless and generous, just the way a garden should be. As you plant this fall, imagine yourself next spring standing barefoot on the path, brushing your hand over the fragrant leaves as bees dance around the blossoms. That's catmint, simple, calming, and endlessly charming, a reminder that beauty doesn't have to be complicated to be unforgettable. 12. Salvia, the bold rhythm of spring. Just when your garden seems to have found its calm, Salvia steps in, tall, vibrant, and full of energy. With its striking spires of deep purple or blue, it doesn't just bloom, it creates movement, rhythm, and life. When the sunlight catches those velvety petals, the whole plant seems to glow, as if it's breathing color into the air. For those of you who love a garden that feels alive, buzzing with bees, brushed by butterflies, and always shifting in light and motion, Salvia is the perfect choice. It thrives in full sun, handles dry conditions like a champion, and blooms for months with almost no effort from you. Just a little trimming after the first flush, and it will return again, ready to put on another dazzling show. What I love most about Salvia is how it brings balance. Strong and structured, yet endlessly graceful. It pairs beautifully with softer blooms like yarrow, catmint, or even ornamental grasses, creating harmony between bold color and gentle texture. It's the kind of plant that anchors your garden, giving it a steady pulse through the seasons. So as you plant this fall, picture your spring garden. Bees hovering over waves of purple, the air warm and fragrant, the garden alive with sound and color. That's what Salvia gives you, not just flowers, but energy. A promise planted in fall. And there you have it, 12 perennials that ask for just a little time now, and in return give you a breathtaking spring garden filled with color, texture, and life. From the quiet strength of hellebores to the vibrant rhythm of salvia, each one has its own story to tell. Its own way of reminding us that beauty begins long before the first bloom appears. Fall planting is more than a task, it's an act of hope. When you kneel in the cool soil and tuck those roots into the earth, you're not just gardening, you're making a promise to the future. You're creating something that will greet you months from now, when winter fades and the world turns green again. Whether you have a sprawling backyard or a single pot on your balcony, remember, your garden doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. What matters is that it reflects you, your patience, your care, your belief that even the smallest effort can grow into something beautiful. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these perennials are you most excited to plant this season? Or maybe there's one already growing in your garden that you adore. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story might just inspire another gardener watching today. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Earthly Delights for more stories, tips, and garden inspiration. Together, we'll keep growing. One season, one seed, one dream at a time.